understanding of the history of the condition of housing and living condition of the mines, the mining charter called for family units in the hostel, 1 person per room, and home ownership option for mine employees by 2014. The department reported that only 55% of mining rights holders with hostel facilities had converted hostel to either family or a single unit.
Your time is expired.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Carter.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Today, the mining industry is smaller than what it was in 1994. Global commodity prices have continued to fall. At the same time, mining costs have continued to rise. The mining industry has been between the proverbial rock and a cliff wall for many years. Since the advent of our democracy, thousands of miners have lost their jobs. The job carnage and conflict within the mining industry led former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe to help initiate the framework agreement for sustainable mining industry. The parties in the mining industry met, negotiated issues of transformation and sustainability, and finally committed themselves to building a working relationship among stakeholders based on trust and respect, ensuring the rule of law, safety and security, and to ending violence and conflict. But just on the rule of law, at the Idwala coal mine in Mpumalanga, to which is also attached a Zuma name, has been mining unbelievably for the last 3 years and leaving a trail of destruction. Are certain people free to operate outside the law? The third point was accelerating transformation and beneficiation within prevailing legislation, regulations, prevailing charter and existing agreements, eliminating negative social and economic legacies, and empowering miners and workers, creating at government level greater certainty and predictability in policy and regulations, repositioning the mining industry to become more attractive to investors, accelerating the implementation of human settlement intervention to ensure that there is proper housing for mine workers, and attending to the problem of high levels of indebtedness of mine workers. The Kgalema Motlanthe initiated framework agreement for a sustainable mining industry is an all-party agreement. Mining companies, miners, unions, and government must therefore ensure that they all play their respective roles in order to transform mining. 2 years have elapsed since the parties signed this agreement. It is now time for the executive to furnish a report to Parliament to indicate what progress has resulted in respect of the 8 clauses of this agreement. The agreement, the Congress of the People urges, must serve as the primary basis of both transformation and sustainability. We need to do so as expeditiously as possible. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Dudley.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. On the state of transformation in South Africa's mining sector, including ownership, human resources development, procurement and enterprise development, improvement of employees' housing and living conditions, mine community development, and sustainable development and growth of host communities, the ACDP welcomes indications that some progress has been made, while we recognize we have a long way to go. The Chamber of Mines, for example, believes significant progress in transformation has been made and reports that the average black economic empowerment ownership of its members is 38%. That's 12% higher than the mandatory requirement, and that more than 159 billion rand in net value has been transferred to BEE beneficiaries in the past 12 years. It is true, however, that if government is to realize the mining sector's full gross domestic product potential in the shortest possible time, as has been stated, there will have to be full government and industry cooperation and collaboration. The collaboration that achieved success in health and safety, for example, saw fatalities drop 86% from 615 in 1993 to 84 in 2014. Government is not unaware of the need for regulatory certainty in this industry that requires long-term investment, and as said, it would remain a priority. Yet, observers say investors see the willingness of the governing party to intervene in the market and the increasing cost and volatility of labor as significant risks. This, coupled with questionable black economic empowerment, mining deals, which tend to skirt the law and enrich insiders, they say is taking its toll on confidence, resulting in many deferring investment or quietly leaving the country. Work stability is paramount, and this was seriously damaged by the shock of the Marikana tragedy, an event that caused shockwaves within the industry and throughout South Africa. One thing South Africans often forget, though, or don't realize, is that they are the majority owners of the mining industry, and that the perception that most of the money earned from the industry leaves South Africa does not line up with the facts. Our understanding is that total mining income was slightly more than 497 billion rand in 2012, and total expenditure amounted to 488 billion rand, more than 80% of which was spent in this country. Transforming the mining sector and ensuring it remains a sustainable industry will take the combined efforts of many to restore confidence and improve investment attractiveness. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Jafta.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, mining industry is one of the main sectors in our country with major contribution towards economic development and towards decreasing the number of unemployed. Our country's historical background demands that this industry should be transformed and made more inclusive to cater for those disadvantaged by the past. We are saying this, Honourable Deputy Speaker, as the AIC, because more improvement and more implementation still required to be done as far as the mining policies and regulations of our country are concerned, to address the imbalances of the past. It is still very difficult and expensive for our African fellow citizens to apply for mining permits or mining rights. They do not have funds to hire consultants or lodge applications, but that is very easy for the other group and companies from outside this country. The payment of royalties by the mining companies need not to be left relaxed as it is, Honourable Deputy Speaker. It must be binding to the companies through mining permits to pay royalties to the local council, to the local councils for the development of their respective areas. A reasonable percentage of their profit must be contributed by mining companies to the government to invest on education. This does not include the tax a company must pay for each mining license granted to it. Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, we need to make mining companies invest very much on the labour supplying provinces like the Eastern Cape so as to grow the SMMEs in these provinces. Working conditions for workers must be improved. A lot still requires much attention in as far as this matter is concerned. While we expect mining industry to contribute a lot towards the economy of our country, the continent, and the world, we must ensure that mineral resources of this country benefits its people and that their lives are improved by mining activities taking place on their land. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable James Lorimer. Yes, we have Honourable Mbinda is not here to exercise his 3 minutes power. So this is where we use you. Go ahead, Honourable James.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Van Rooyen says nobody should use this debate for political grandstanding. Well, when the law was drawn up by the ANC, it was a highly political process. When the officials were appointed, they were political appointments. When policy was determined, it was ANC policy. When the budget was drawn up, it was an ANC budget. Then it all fell apart because the ANC's policies are unsustainable. And the ANC says, let's not make this political. Now, South Africa was the dominant producer of gold for more than 100 years. During this time, South Africa sunk an average of 8 kilometers of gold mining shafts every year. That distance of vertical shaft sinking rising to as high as 25 kilometers in a single year. Our engineering was the wonder of the mining world. Over the last year, for the first time in more than a century, that trend reversed. In South Africa, more gold mine shafts were filled in than were dug. Nothing better illustrates the decline of this industry. Gold mining, like so much other of our mining, is going backwards. Make no mistake, the slowdown in worldwide demand for our minerals is very bad. Mineral prices are at multi-year lows. And as low as those prices go, the cost of producing those minerals continues to rise. This slump is bad. Some people in the industry predict it's going to last for 5 years. But that is not solely to blame for our reversals. The 5 years to 2008 saw perhaps the biggest ever resources boom the world has ever known. But when it was over, our industry had barely grown. In fact, by some measures, it had shrunk. This should have been a warning to the ANC government that something was fundamentally wrong with its policies. But instead, we got what we always get from the ANC when policies go wrong. That means you must do more of the same thing. Broadly, ANC policies are designed around enriching cronies, comrades, and cousins by having as much flexibility in the rules as possible. So miners hold their rights, not according to the law, but according to the goodwill of the ANC or of whatever faction of the ANC is currently in charge. So the result of that flexibility means a lack of certainty. That lack of certainty means investors stay away. They stay away from new mines, and they stay away from putting more money into established mines. The Deputy Minister has searched hard to find new mining investment examples. Unfortunately, the examples he has found are the exception rather than the rule. Disappearing jobs are proof of that. At the moment, 2/3 of our platinum mines are losing money and probably more than half of our gold mines. Jobs are being lost because very few people are making money from mining shares. One financial expert told me if he bought South African mining shares for any of his clients' portfolios, he would probably get fired. And here I offer my commiserations. I'm sorry that the Madam Speaker is not here, because like all holders of large individual portfolios of mining shares, Goldfields shares have lost 23% over the last year. So we feel her pain. She's lost something in the order of 5 million rand because of her shares reducing in value. Now, much of this damage is self-inflicted. The South African mining industry has been in suspended animation for the past 16 months. Ever since the debacle of the passing of the new MPRDA bill, there's been no certainty about what will come, and investment has dried up largely. We warned that it was a bad bill, and the President agreed with us. Since then, the bill has remained in limbo, halfway between Parliament and an executive which can't seem to make up its mind as to what it wants to happen. Now we hear about a mining pakisa. Presumably, we will not get legislation until that is over. There's only one question about the pakisa. Will government listen this time? It gets warned time and again that its actions will cost jobs. It ignores those warnings. What needs to be transformed is this government's ability to listen. In the meantime, with no clear future in sight, mines tighten their belts and cut costs to survive. That cost cutting inevitably involves lost jobs. For companies to maintain the stream of capital that will keep mines operational, they need to believe they can make a profit in future. They need a clear view of a good future. No such clear view has been provided by this government. Instead come adolescent raves like that from Minister Bladen Zimande last week. He said, "We do not believe that the mine bosses in South Africa have any reason to close down mines other than to destroy the NUM." Seriously? What business in its right mind is going to invest in a country where a senior member of government comes out with that sort of economically illiterate criticism? There needs to be a sign that things will be done differently. To this end, we have suggested 3 positive statements of intent that would end the threats and would do a great deal to change sentiment for the better. First, government should accept the principle of once empowered, always empowered. This principle could be for every mining deposit. It doesn't have to be for every company. If not accepted, this will deal a dangerous blow to the industry. Second, the government could announce the withdrawal of the MPRDA bill pending a rewrite, which will result in a truly investment-friendly piece of legislation. And third, government needs to declare for once and for all that the highest BEE ownership requirement in mines will be the current 26%. There's a continual stream of hints and threats that the final number is going to be far, far higher. On top of these pledges, government needs to do something about the perception that the issuing of licenses and stoppage notices is crooked. Honourable Van Rooyen says this government has transformed mining from a corrupt system. He may very well believe that. Ask anybody who actually works in mining and they'll tell you different. The Portfolio Committee has just done oversight in Mpumalanga. Word in the industry is, and I don't know whether this is true, but this is what a lot of people believe, that if you want to get a mining license in that province, you have to pay bribes of 600,000 rand. Now, the fact that this is a widely held perception means that government should be doing something about it. My suggestion is, a very earnest suggestion, that the Minister order a series of lifestyle audits of those issuing licenses and those inspecting compliance. If genuinely done, that would help restore the reputation of the department. So the ANC just has to make 3 simple pledges. They could do it in a day, and then some confidence would be restored to our industry, and mines would not be so quick to cut jobs. We will still not have an industry working at full potential. That would take much more work, but that would show this government is serious about sustaining the mining industry and the more than 1 million jobs that depend on it. This government can stop the industry going backwards, but it needs to spell out clearly what it will do differently and take steps to show that it means business. Otherwise, South Africa's retreat from mining will continue, and more South Africans will face the personal catastrophe of job loss. If more jobs are lost, it'll be very clear who is responsible. And this House can be certain that we will inform the victims who is to blame. Here's a novel idea. Why doesn't the ANC transform mining from a dying industry into a growing one? Thank you.
Honourable Loziko.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The members of the executive, honorable members, let me start by a quotation from former President and late President Nelson Mandela. And I quote, "A good leader can engage in a debate frankly and thoroughly, knowing that at the end he and the other side must be closer and thus emerge stronger. You don't have that idea when you are arrogant, superficial, and uninformed," close quote. Tomorrow, this House will be debating the International Mandela Day, which is a day in which our world icon Tata Rolihlahla Mandela, Adalbunga, was ushered in on this planet Earth. I hope and wish that in the debate tomorrow, there will be a highlight by some of the speakers of President Nelson Mandela as a mine worker, because this is one part that gets missed in his biography, that he once worked on the mines. It means the mines have produced a world icon. This is a reflection, therefore, that out of the worst conditions, you can produce the best. And all the best leaders that were produced were leaders that were produced under the worst system of apartheid. Unfortunately, I doubt others they would want to associate themselves with President Mandela as a person who was working on the mines, because they were part of those who were encouraging their own oppression. I must hasten to say, Honorable Shibambo, I agree with you 100%. And I accept the fact that you are giving a lecture. There is only one thing that a Marxist must do. And I accept because, Honorable Josie, requested that we must have a debate, and I think that's what we must do. I accept the fact that you are giving a lecture, and I think it must be appreciated. But the only thing that you can't do, you must also give credit to the teacher. Surely no one is here without having been educated somewhere. And when I look and marvel the intervention, I then start to marvel the African National Congress that it can produce. It doesn't change. And I always say this thing, it doesn't change. I grew up and I was born in the rural areas of the Eastern Cape. I studied in a school called Sotinini Secondary School then. Today, that school is about to be closed. But it doesn't mean it has not made a contribution to what I am today because of that. So it remains an issue that even if your parent can be whatever is, don't be ashamed to appreciate that he has made you to grow to be where you are. Secondly, I think we must engage on a debate and we must accept it constructively as it comes. Part of what Marx is saying, taking from Mao Zedong, Chairman Mao, he says long-distance training is good practice for perseverance. In essence, it says, in the process of engagement in a struggle, you must understand that it is not an event, but it's a process of changing the minds of the people. And therefore, it cannot be done overnight. You must be patient, but at the same time, you must never be tolerant of anti-progress. So we accept, and I don't think the ANC should fear. I don't think the ANC should fear to own up to what it says. The only difference that can exist is that too much sugar can cause disease. The fact that the ANC says we want to put 3 spoons in a cup and someone says we want to put 8 spoons in a cup does not change that the fact of the matter, you need sugar in order to drink. Now, in order to transform the mining industry in general, we have to understand the biggest problem every time we're here, people, they quote the rules of the House and say a member should not read the speech. When you don't read the speech and you speak on the speech, people get irritated. We have to accept also the fact that we can't be in denial. We have to accept that there is a commodity decline in the mining industry. But we cannot, and I think that's the point that we have argued, even with the mining bosses. The issue of retrenchment cannot be used as if with the demand of salary increases, it is equated to retrenchment. We have seen retrenchment in this country in the mining industry, even when workers have not made demands for salary increases. And therefore, we must see where does this equation come from? Because we don't get an argument that says, if you don't demand too much of salaries, we won't retrench you. And I think we cannot deny it as the African National Congress. It is precisely for that reason that we say the mining bosses should not resort to retrenchment as and when they feel that there is a pinch. Retrenchment should become the last resort where every avenue has been exhausted. Now, I fail to understand sometimes. I fail to understand. One time at school, Honorable Schmidt was here. One time at school, somebody was given a task to write noisemakers. And he wrote on the noisemakers someone who was not even in class that day. Now, I hear here there is an argument about the problems of the victims. And you only single out one union. the National Union of Mine Workers. And you single the National Union of Mine Workers, but you can't tell us in the past, when you talk about your 5-month strike, you can't tell us that it was NUM that was leading the strike. And for the record, it is not on the basis of which union workers belong to. It is on the basis of the common goal that binds them together. And therefore, the unity of workers at all material times is what will make them achieve. We should not be liquidationist and want to liquidate workers as if they're incapable to take up a fight for what is good for themselves. The struggles of workers are not based on begging employers to do what is good for them. The only issue that we must always guard against, and I'm sure Honorable Shibambu, you'll agree with me again in this one, is that if you want the working class to succeed, its unity remains sacrosanct. You invited politics, you said there's a lecture, let's engage on that debate on the last lecture. In that context, it remains relevant that we should not identify workers according to which union they chose to affiliate to. We must mobilize them. If we mobilize the workers, mobilize them around their own theory of revolution. And therefore, a worker that is not theoretically grounded is very dangerous. It's like someone who's carrying a gun in a house without understanding how to use it. It's not just dangerous to the people next to, it's also dangerous to himself. So it remains that relevant to that. The story is responding to what you were saying. You think you are going to say some things and then people must not respond. It remains critical also that part of the issue that we have said as the committee, honorable members of my committee, is the fact that the decline in the mining industry, is not only based on what now we want to apportion to someone. Because everything that you make, the only people that are not guilty are those that you came to protect here. Those who continue to overfeed themselves at the expense of the working class. And therefore, in that context, I don't think the ANC we should be fine. We said our own struggle is the struggle that wants to liberate blacks in general and Africans in particular, because they have been the most exploited. And in that context, we are not going to be ashamed to make legislation that wants to redress the imbalances of the past.
Expired.
Thank you.
Deputy Speaker,
Honorable Van Rooyen.
Deputy Speaker, just quickly that...
What are you raising on, Honorable Member?
I didn't want to interrupt him. Wanted to clarify something that maybe you should
Honorable Member. No.
We are the ones
that's
who
not a point of order.
See the importance of
Honorable Member.
After they adopted
Honorable Shivambo,
and we're privatizing all strategic
You're out of order.
So the teacher in this instance is ourselves who taught the ANC. And thank you very much for acknowledging our lessons to you.
Honorable Shivambo,
you must take it from there.
You are out of order. You are making a big mistake, Honorable Shivambo, by repeatedly engaging in debates instead of raising your point of order. And don't do this again. I really think you are stepping out of the boundaries. Don't take advantage of a good mood in the debate today to misbehave. Go ahead, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much once more, Deputy Speaker. Let me pass my word of gratitude to all contributors and hasten to indicate that we are not that far apart from each other, except, of course, for historical reason, with the what's called the DA and the Freedom FFF+. Our country, as indicated by most of you, remains a mineral-driven economy. And indeed, it is crucial for the state to position itself to initiate and give life to catalytic sectors. The reality is the government can't do it alone. We need private sector investment to shape and drive the sustainability of the mining industry. I think the task going forward for all of us as SMP is the intensification of our oversight role on the implementation of all instruments meant to grow and sustain the mining industry. Among others, I will urge my colleagues to follow up on the following issues: the mining charter, the full implementation of the mining charter, the revitalization, proper revitalization of mining towns, and as well as the functioning of the state-owned mining company. But also let's not forget to assist municipalities as they strive for proper implementation of social plans in the host communities. To the department, I think it's important that the health-related compensation that has been referred to, among other things, that the department should consider to popularize this important intervention is the utilization of parliamentary constituency offices so as people are properly informed, but also this whole scheme is properly popularized among our people. I think I must take this opportunity, Honorable Deputy Speaker, for the sake of our people and the country, to call on all that we are in this thing together. Let's work as a collective to turn things around. And once more, thanks all for your contributions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable members, before I conclude this matter, Honorable Waters earlier on raised a complaint about an additional 31 seconds I gave to Honorable Gigaba when he responded to questions. The discretion of the chair is often exercised in order to provide ministers, when they are responding to questions by members, an additional time to complete their thought, whatever they are saying, and provide additional information. Members here, in the reading of their statements, in the speaking here on the platform, are allocated time. There are very few members who we must give awards for sticking to their time all the time. The majority of you members throughout the House, you exceed your time requirements. And so we would like to advise you members, it's 2 minutes often, it's 3 minutes often that you are allocated. Really, you can practice that and be dead on time in completing it. This is what we do there. We often allow you to go over with a second or two. Some of you, we have to speak to you 3 times before you finally turn away, even when the clock is red in front of your face. So we've allowed that now and then because we are not mechanical, but we discourage it. That's the basis on which I want to conclude this attempt. And I do refer you not only to read Rule 105, you must also read 113, please, of the rules. That provides for discretion for the presiding officers not to be mechanical about this. Even as we would like you to stick to times, please stay within your time limits, but do recognize that time limits and their organization here, having been decided by yourselves, the discretion of its application is to the chair. Many of you save time. The ministers themselves, 50 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, and some of you here, I listed a list of members who did not complete, their ideas were completely within the time. So time evens out as a result of such conduct. So please, let's stick to the generally accepted time allocated. We will allow you to finish your sentence or your thought, but within limits. We can't allow you to go beyond the time you were allocated because it impacts on the variety of our arrangements here. I just wanted to make those observations and request you to remember the rules that we have suggested. Thank you very much. That concludes the debate and
Deputy
the
Speaker,
House
sorry,
agenda.
Sorry,
yes.
may
Yes,
I address you?
Yes, go ahead.
I welcome your ruling, and I want to thank you for that. I just want to raise 2 issues, if I may, Deputy Speaker. You're quite right when you refer to 105, which deals with the response from the executive on member statements. It does not give a presiding officer any discretion to extend that time. But I hear what you say, that people should be given a few seconds to finish their sentence. In this regard, the minister got an extra minute, which is 50% over his time.
No, it's 31.
But on Rule 113, you're quite right there. You do have a discretion, and that you can apply without fear or favour. But under 105 member statements, there is no discretion. So thank you very much.
Honourable members, what I said to you, let's go by that guidance that we have given here. We will discuss this matter with Honourable Waters outside of this House. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. The House is adjourned.